because I locate myself, I did when I had children at home. That's where I lived, is according to where they were going to school. And I could live in a shitbag house. I mean, just literally, as long as they could be in a good school, in a good spot, and get a good education so that they can take care of me when I'm old.
But
Yeah,
see,
your retirement plan.
But see, that is your motivation. So that would be critical to understand how important schools were for you. Now, what would be a great second tier question for her for that? Thank you for sharing that. Anybody? What would be a great next tier question from that?
What are the things that they do, you know, like as a family, what are their enjoyments other than school?
That's great, but stay on the school. There's something really important with that school.
Ages.
How about, what you got, Michael?
The ages, so we can know middle school to elementary schools.
Very important. But how about, are you only interested in public schools, or are you open to private schools as well?
Very good question.
Nope, just public, because who
But
the hell
see-
wants to pay for it?
But see, we didn't know that, right?
Right.
And I tell you what, we had another instance where the agent assumed it was public, and she didn't go consider this one particular area that has an amazing private school, and she lost out on the deal because a perfect home came up, but it was only in an area that had a good private school, and they went with somebody else because they bought in the private school district. But she never thought to ask, because she made the assumption, because she was selling from her mindset. This is the other thing you've got to be very, very clear with. You never want to sell in the sense of working with the buyer from your own perspective. If you're like, well, my kids went to public school, so I'm going to assume that they're going to want to go to public school. You don't know that, right? We don't know that. See what I'm saying? So for example, this is a perfect example. I would ask, and let me ask you guys this. What do you guys think? How often, what percentage of customers, what percentage of my customers at the builder do you think purchased on the first visit? You each get to pick.
Probably not very much. I would want to look around and see the area and see what I need, if it fit my needs. I mean, I would.
So what percentage do you think? Give me a number.
25.
What do you think, Karen?
10.
What do you think, Michael?
We're using this,
No.
85.
Mine were 92%. 92% of my customers bought on the first visit.
Wow.
Now, you're wondering why, right? No. Yes, I am. Good. But that's not why. Because you just made the assumption, and that's why I wanted to ask you this, that it was their first time. But just because it's the first time walking in the door with me does not mean it's their first day looking. That was the incorrect thought, and that's what they wanted the agent to think, so that they would be left alone, right? They wanted that, and that's how agents did what I call ride the be-back bus, which I hated. So you have to assume that when they walked in your door, this is not when they started looking. Are you crazy? They started months before, when they started looking online. They have done so much research, especially today, long before they've walked through your door, right? So it's not unusual that such a high percentage of people bought with me on the first visit, because by the time they came in, I went through all their wants and needs, and they researched my community. They didn't just happen to drive by and decide that they wanted to come check out the floor plans, right? I spent time with the people that were really truly interested in finding a home, and I took the time to find out their wants and their needs, and then really explore all the things we had to offer to find them the perfect fit. That's why so many people, sometimes I'd be with them for 8 hours. I didn't care, because I knew that's what they came in for. And so I was there to help them. But other people, they're like, oh, well, they're not going to buy today anyway, because it's their first time in. They were working with the assumption of that, well, I wouldn't buy the first time coming in. But it wasn't the customer's mindset. How many times did they planned? They took time out of their day, especially in a weekend, to plan to drive into my community. It wasn't just like they're like, oh, I'm driving by, I'm just happy to come in, right? They actually said, I'm going to drive by, check out that community. Maybe sometimes they walk in with the newspaper article from whatever ad I had ran. So I knew they had been researching my community. I knew they were online looking at my floor plans. I knew this wasn't just a haphazard thing that they just said, oh, there's some pretty flags. I'm going to drive in there today, right? So these are serious customers, but agents would miss those things because they were thinking it, looking at it, the whole situation from their perspective. So I don't ever want you to cloud your vision of the buyer from your own perspective. So let me ask you, a home comes back with an appraised price. The appraisal is way low and the buyer wants to pay more. Do you let them do it?
Yes.
If it's the house they want, I mean, you can tell them, you know, the situation and let them make that decision. I mean, I guess it depends how much they're adamant this is the house they want that fits what they want.
And Karen's like,
you-
no way, Karen, I saw your face. You're like, no. So here's the
Is this your forever home or is this gonna be a
Right.
5?
No,
Here's the
5-year
point,
plan?
Karen. You can't sell them with your perspective. Our job is exactly that, to point at the facts.
yeah, but
This is what the homes are selling for. This is what it appraised for. You can pick whatever you want to do. This is my counsel in terms of what it's worth. This is the appraised counsel on what it's worth. You may do whatever you feel comfortable doing. Is there any other homes in the market? Probably not. Will there be coming any other homes in the market? Who knows? Are prices going down? Guys, it's going to tell you something. No, prices are not going down. They're not going to drop. Not anytime soon. Are they going to continue going up and up and up the same percentages that they have been climbing? No, but they're not going to be dropping. So, you know, don't counsel people with the perspective of, I'm not going to buy that. I wouldn't do that. Right? Again, you have to let them make their own decisions. We never want to say, oh yeah, wait an inspection. That's insanity. Don't ever do that, because that would be a bad situation for anybody, right? We'd have to say, I do not suggest that, nor, but that's a different thing, right? Because that has to do with understanding what's wrong with the property. But in terms of letting someone pay for whatever they want to pay for, as long as we've given them all the facts, right? So it's down to the same thing. It's understanding someone's wants and needs and making sure we're always truthful about whatever situation is, but taking our own personal beliefs out of the equation. That's the difficult part that a lot of buyers agents are horrible at. The other thing, when you're representing the buyer, you cannot fight with the other side. We want to represent our buyer. We want to do it in the best way, but we have to understand, what are we in the state of Florida? Are we single agents?
Mhm.
Actually,
Transaction brokers. We're here to work together to make it a win-win. Sadly, a lot of people on the other side forget that fact, right? But we're always going to be looking out for the best interest of our customer, right? Because obviously that's what they have us here for. But we do not want to make this, you know, a contentious situation. We want to make sure that we're all working together. And a lot of times you have to be very careful that you don't cross the line and act as a single agent, right? So because you get to know your customer so well, we all know what fiduciary is, right? You cannot get to a point of that confidentiality. We are not attorneys. If they start telling us their inner, deepest, darkest secrets, run and hide. La, 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 la. Do not listen. We do not want that level of responsibility, because you cannot change our brokerage relationship. So be very careful. That's what I want to share, because as we get to this level of really understanding their wants and needs, it doesn't mean that we want to know their deepest, darkest secrets, right? Okay. So the other reason that we want to know how many homes they've purchased is because a lot of people think because they bought homes that they're experts. Just because you bought a home for the last 10 years, every year, you bought 10 homes. If we're selling 10 homes a month, 10 homes, 10 homes even a year, that's more than they've done in their lifetime, right? That's the idea. So we have to respect that this is not their first rodeo. We always want to give them respect, but we also have to let them know that this is what we do for a living. So we have to treat them, though, differently than someone who's a first-time home buyer. So you need to know that to know how to treat them. Well, I can understand you've done this 5 times. What other states have you done this in? because every state is different. Karen, you know that, right? So, for example, up north is single agency. So you have to share that. Remember, here in the state of Florida, we are not single agents. This is transaction brokerage. So there's certain things that you're going to want to be able to know. And this question helps you get there. Okay, we're going to go through some more of that as we go on. How long did it take you to find a home? This is a great opportunity for you to prepare them for what the market is like right now. Right? Well, I can imagine back in Minnesota, it might have been a little different than our market is here in Florida, right? Like it gives you an opportunity to prepare. I don't know, maybe Minnesota's hot right now. Like I have no idea. How did the process work for you? Listen, New York City or New York is very different. The realtors just put you together, then the attorneys take over, right? This is very different. We want to share with them. I'm going to be in contact with you through the whole thing. I'm going to be speaking with your lender with your permission. I need to speak to your lender as well to make sure that we're in compliance and always moving forward and keeping up with our dates. You need to make sure that they understand that. Do not let them just talk to their lender without you. That is very bad, because then if you're not kept up to date and they're not doing what they need to do, it's called due diligence. If they're not using diligent effort, getting what they need to in the time frame requested from the lender, they will be in default of the contract, in which case they could lose their deposit. So we have a lot more responsibility on the buyer's side than you may know. We're going to cover that when we cover contracts, but this is your opportunity to set some light on some of those things. So we're not going into it too much now because we'll cover more of that in contracts, but this is very important that they understand that. But this is great. Is there anything you'd like to change for this purchase? So now you can see what they didn't like. They're telling you exactly how they want to be helped, right? I love this question. This is totally ninja. If we could wave a magic wand, how would you have this purchase go? Like, how would you imagine this process going? Let them tell you, and then you can, let them know if that's never going to work, right? But it lets them dream. And when they get in that dream state, they will tell you exactly what they're thinking and feeling, which is important because we don't want them. Buyers, I hate the term. It's a little true, but I hate it. Buyers are liars. Buyers are guarded, right? Buyers don't always want to tell you the truth. But if you put them in that dream state, sometimes they tell you things, right? Which they may not have normally told you. You need to know. Here's another thing. Write this down. You need to understand, especially if these are financing people, do they know how much it's going to cost them monthly? Agents make a huge mistake and ask them, hey, have you been pre-qualified? Yeah, we're working with somebody. Okay, great. And then that's all they say. No. You want to know, terrific. So share with me. And then they say, well, how much are you looking to spend in a home? They don't know. They don't know. They say, 500,000. They pick a number, right? Do they understand what that equals a month? This is important. So you've got to make sure when you speak to their lender, you got to make sure that they understand the total costs. We're talking with taxes, we're talking with HOA, because all you can imagine is you get to that part and they look at that, pre-HUD and they go, oh my God, that's too much. I can't do that. And now your closing just went bye-bye. And wow, that's not a good feeling, right? So you need to say, this is my favorite phrase. I'm sure, you could do whatever you want, but what monthly figure would be comfortable for you? What would you be comfortable with? So you can still go out to eat and have your fun. That's what you need to know. What are they comfortable at monthly? And you guys got to get comfortable working with a lender, whether it's our affiliated mortgage broker, Maria's fabulous, or your own lender, whoever you like to use. You got to get started to be comfortable knowing what that monthly nut would be more or less equal to. If they put XYZ down and this is how much they're paying a month, what more or less would that be equal to? That will help you tremendously. So when they're saying, oh yeah, I'm approved at the 650. Yeah, I'm comfortable about 350 a month, 3,500 a month. You're like, and you want to be in a gated community and you're like, it's not going to work, right? So now we're having another conversation. This is where a buyer's agent really needs to understand more than just how to set up a couple showings, right? And get people under contract. It's an understanding, a depth of understanding that will help you put them in the right home. Okay?
Yeah.
When do you want to be in your new home? This is critical because here's the better one. What happens if you're not in your new home by that time? That's important at this time, right? What happens if you don't make it into your new home at that time? Do you have to rent? Are you at a home where you're not renting? You know, these are things that can make a big deal today, right?
Yep.
And the market condition thing is huge. We're going to be talking about our market conditions. You probably talked about it earlier on, right? When you're asking these questions. But again, most important thing, you ready? Here you go. I don't care how many people are making, it's whoever's making the buying decisions. Husband, wife, mom, grandma, whoever is making the true buying decisions. You say, okay, this is the other thing we need. You give them each a piece of paper or you email it to them, depending if you're on the phone, whatever this is. I need for you to send me as soon as possible the top 5 must-haves in your home. Do not talk to each other. You have to do this on your own. And the top 5 must not have. I need that because that needs to be in your back pocket. So when they start saying, well, I really want this house, and you know that it's on his list that he must not have a pool or she must not have it, whatever that is, you're gonna say, well, I would have loved to show you that, but remember, he does not want to have this, and so there's no sense in adding that to your list, right? Because that's what happens with buyers. They keep wanting to throw silly things at you. And this is going to help you with that, right? Then when you talk to them again, you're going to call them and you're going to say, okay, got your list. I'm super excited. Let's talk about, you had mentioned it must have an open kitchen. What is it about that open kitchen? Tell me about that, right? Do you love to cook? No, I just love to have, you know, family things where we all sit around the kitchen. So okay, so it's a big island that you need, right? Because maybe they don't cook, they don't need a lot of kitchen space, but it's because they all want to sit around the island, right? So just assume because they said a big kitchen, that it means they cook, you know? So that's where I'm starting to say, so once they give you those lists, okay, now you said it cannot have a pool. So what is it about that pool? If there was a pool, not even to look at, yes, I'm definitely afraid of swatters. Like, okay, now you understand. Well, I just don't want to have the maintenance of the pool. Oh, so if there was a pool, but it really didn't change the cost of it, would that be something that you would still consider? You need to get those pieces understood, right? So that's why it's important that you understand. If they say must not, it doesn't always mean that they're deathly afraid of water, right? It just means that they maybe don't want to keep up the upkeep of that pool. So if, let's say that upkeep of the pool is about $100 a month, and then your kids can enjoy the pool because there was no community pool, would you be okay with that? Well, I suppose that's not right, because maybe they're from an area where they're thinking that the upkeep of the pool is going to be like $300 a month. See what I'm saying? So this is where you need to get. So once you get those lists back, then you got to have that conversation about what those things mean. Michael, do you want to say something?
I was gonna say just dig deeper, you know.
Always.
Don't just,
To me, except for like confidential stuff, like don't go there. Like girlfriends, I don't want to know. Like we've had some crazy things where a guy shows up with the wrong person. He says, okay, remember when you asked? No, I don't want to know. No, no, thank you. Really weird things. Well, you said I could put it in someone else's name. Yes, I did. We can use this as an investment. Let's just keep it in your name. Shall we do that? Yeah, horrible stuff. Yeah. True story. So, and then I'm not supposed to tell the wife, like, I don't want to be involved in this. This is just ugly, ugly business. But it was a very high price home. So anyway, so, okay, we all clear on this, right? So we can go through this consultation, but most importantly, motivating factors, right? Why the area, but what is making them move now, right? Number one, why are they moving now? What has changed in their life that has made them finally decide to move? Because that's huge, right? Because something has changed to make them finally decide I'm going to move. We need to know what that is, right? And that's also going to tell us, is it just like a whim, or is it like, I'm really ready now? Because depending on what they say, it could be like, well, I still want to just, the market's really moving and it's hot and I just kind of want to take advantage of it before it gets hot. You know, it could be like, okay, these buyers are really not serious. We need to find that out, right? Also, if it's that buyer who's just going to be like looky-loos and kind of keep putting in low ball offers, do you want to waste all your time on these people? Because we're going to prioritize our buyers too, aren't we? Are you going to go spend 20 hours with a buyer who keeps putting in offers that are too low versus spending time with people who really want to buy a home?
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to balance buyers. Let me ask you this. Let's say you wanted to go on a special birthday thing with your son or your family or something, but you have buyers that wanted to go somewhere and you knew it was like these looky-loo buyers. What do you tell them?
Do you have an alternate time or day that we can do this? Because
You don't have time for me?
no, it's not that I don't have time for you. I can do it. Absolutely, I can do
Okay,
it.
great. So let's do it.
All right then.
See, you just got yourself suckered into that. Bad. Okay, try again.
But as a military wife, I have forfeited a lot, and
I don't want you to forfeit, Karen. I have a good one for you. You're not going to forfeit. Okay, Melissa, you try. So I want to see this home. One home tomorrow. One home. I hate that. We're
You
wasting.
know that never happens. It's not just one home. You know it'll never
Oh
be.
no, it does all the time. They're like, on my lunch break, I want to go see this home.
I would say that I currently have an appointment at that time. Is there an alternate time that would work for you? Just
Yeah,
like
right
Friday.
after 2:00 will work.
And I need the whole day with my, so can I work them both in is my question, maybe?
No, you want to take the day. You're doing this whole thing. You want to take the day off. You want to have time with your family.
Okay, so I would tell them that would not work, but I'll be happy first thing in the morning.
Okay, so here's one. Okay, people get annoyed. Okay, you know, as a buyer, if you're like, oh, they don't even have time for me. Like, can you recommend somebody else because you clearly don't have time for me, right?
Right.
But I'm glad that nobody said I am busy. My schedule doesn't allow. That was good because that's a really bad one to say. So good for you. Gold stars around. Nobody said that. That's a bad one. I'm busy. It doesn't work in my schedule. That's a bad one. Here's one I've used for years and I've never had kickback on it. I would so love to help you, Melissa. I would love to, I could even spend the whole day with you. You're so much fun. However, unfortunately, I have a family who's going to be homeless if I do not find them a home tomorrow. I mean, unless you want them to come live with you, do you have space? Because if not, I've got to find them a home tomorrow. Do you have space? They've never had space. They've always been like, okay, absolutely, Carrie, go find them a home. Let me know.
Right.
You always have a homeless family. Always.
Lord, I would
I'm
house.
writing that down.
What was that, Karen?
I would house them.
Well, Karen, that's so great to know. If we cannot find him a house tomorrow, I'm calling you up. You are so amazing. Thank you so much.
I mean, seriously, I have a pull-out couch and all kinds of good stuff.
Well,
We'll
listen,
have so much
they're
fun.
never a homeless family. It's because I was busy and I just didn't want to spend time or whatever. But I always have a homeless family. Because it's never about you. You can't ever make it about you, right? You
Right.
always have to help someone who's more needy than they are. Okay? Sound good? And if you just say I have an appointment, they feel it's cold and that you don't care about that. See what I'm saying? But if you tell them how much you love them and you'd love more than spend time with them, but unfortunately you have this homeless family, and if you don't help them, I mean, can they move in with you? They're going to be a little bit more like, oh my God, no, they can't. And so
We're taking care of them.
I mean, you know, you have to do this within your personality. Michael, you probably have a little bit more, you know, of a harder time pulling off some of the things that I do, but you ladies probably can pull off most of the things that I do. So as women, we can pull off a lot more than a guy can. That's a really fun thing. Everything that I'm telling you is stuff that I have used for years. I have literally never gotten kickback from that one.
I'm taking notes.
My military training's gonna have to go out the window. Because we house everybody. We love everybody. Everybody, I mean, no matter the branch, the year,
Karen, remember, it's an excuse.
no, but still, I'm gonna have to get used to that. It'll be all right.
Yeah, remember, you've got to get used to the fact that you're not doing this from your own mindset. You just cracked me up. You- Okay.
Oh, girl, I got a big old personality. I'll be able to work it out.
Yeah,
I'll
we're,
think-
we're gonna work on you, but okay. So we have 8 more minutes. So I wanted to go through the funnel with you. If we have time, or do you have questions? Okay, we're gonna go in the funnel. All right, I love the funnel. This is the funnel. This is the funnel process. So you say, listen, we are focused on the process of elimination, not selection. So we want to make sure you don't miss a thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all sorts of properties, things on the MLS, developments, maybe even for sale by owners, whatever that might be. We're going to write it all down here. We're going to put it in this funnel. We might check out some things online. We might have you drive by a couple things. We're going to make sure we check out everything. You're going to eliminate things, and the things that we find that you really love, we're going to go ahead and schedule to go see. That way we know we didn't miss anything important. You like that?
Good.
It's the funnel process. The point of this is because you don't want them to say, oh, but I wanted to see that one. Oh, but I missed this one. That's what buyers do. Like, I don't want to show any more. Honestly, I will see up to 5 homes in a day. That's like my max. I don't know what Tasha sees in a day. How many does she go up to?
Oh, Tasha went with me
Yeah.
all over God's creation. She did. She was excellent at that.
In one day?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
That
here's
girl
the
went
thing
with
with
me
that.
everywhere.
So here's the thing with that. This is my philosophy on that. If you show, and you might be a different personality, Karen, but most people, if you show them too many things, all you do is confuse them.
Oh, trust me. I did that to Tasha. Tasha didn't do that to me. No mistake. I came up, I was that buyer that researched everything on the internet, looked at realtor.com and all these other sites and everything I could get my hands on, because that was my most important thing, where to live every time we had to go.
Did she make you drive by anything before she saw you?
Did she say it again?
Did she make you drive by anything before she saw you?
No.
See, I would have.
That's not dark. Well, here's the thing.
Her husband drove by some.
I was hours away. So
Okay, so you were just coming in for the day. So
Yeah.
like, if I had a situation where someone was coming from out of the country, which I dealt with a lot of foreigners, I couldn't necessarily do that, right? So then I would maybe break it down by area. And if I had to spend, okay, this is how I work. Listen, if I have to spend more than 2 days with you, actually more than 1 day with you, it's too many. I'm like a one and done. Because I have done so much work ahead. I know exactly what you want. I really do. And if I'm wrong, strike me down. Seriously, I have spent that time with you. And I really know, because I'm great at discovery. I've done it for so long, for so many years. But sometimes it's like, because you have to go to this area and then over here, you have to spend more than 1 day because you just can't get, in those 2 different areas. So, but going through this funnel with them helps them understand that it's a process of elimination, not selection. So you're not just keeping adding to the list. You've got the whole list, you narrow it down. And when you get to that small list, that's when you go see it, right? Because you're not going to just drive around, because there's 2 problems that you start driving around and seeing all these homes. One, what I don't want to do, Melissa, is if we go see all these homes and the worst thing happens, you fell in love with the home we saw 2 days ago, but now you're ready to put in an offer and it's gone. And now you're going to be mad at me, and I can't have that.
You should have told me to buy it right then.
But then you wouldn't have wanted to, Melissa, because we had all those other homes to see. And that's why we're going to do this process of elimination. You see how that works? Now, Karen, the other thing is, if you think that there's certain areas that might work better for you, I'm going to suggest you drive through them at night, at different times during the day, to see how you feel about them, to make sure that you would feel comfortable and you feel like those are areas that really represents the areas that would make you feel warm and fuzzy about.
You know what?
And if they are,
My sister, who was not even in real estate, she was a nurse, and she taught me that. She said, you need to go through and make sure that, see who's at home at night. See if the kids are screaming outside, and
it's true. And that's not something I'm going to go drive with you at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock. No, I'm not going to do that, right? So that's why I like the agent, the customers, if they can. If you're coming from out of town, you can't do that. But I'm going to recommend you do that, because then you're going to know, I really like this area, I want to come back there.
Right.
You might drive by there and go, oh my gosh, you do not know what happens. People start cooking in their garages. it becomes a little crazy at night. So I don't want to be in that community, because I have, and that's a true story. I had a whole bunch of people move from one community to one of my new home communities because people in this really nice community, their whole group moved in and they all started cooking in their garages. No lie. And it became this really weird block party thing that a lot of people were like, we don't like it. And our communities turned into this really strange cook in your garage, crazy,
Yeah.
music kind of thing. And my family's from Colombia, so they don't cook in their garage and they don't do that. But some people didn't like it. So that's what I'm saying. I never say that because you got to be very careful with fair housing. But you just simply say drive by different times, maybe at night or during the day or whenever, just see how you feel. And if it's the kind of community that you really feel like you want to come home to, then we'll know that's where we're going to go check it out. If people are smart, they'll be like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is exactly the best idea.
Right? So, and then you go set those appointments. Okay. 2 more minutes. Here's the best. So we're going to go through what you need to set up the showings and all that. But here is the showing day. The what you don't want ever. This is all about that process of elimination. I always close on the first visit, the first day, and there's a reason, because again, I'm very on purpose and strategic. First of all, I never show the best home first. I save that one for last. There's a reason. I usually show the worst one first. Sometimes you can't because of the driving patterns, but if I have it my way, I always try to show the worst one first and last, and in the last one. And worst meaning the worst, what things I think that they'll like. Sometimes you're wrong, but 9 out of 10 times I'm right. And then you're going to print them a nice little thing. We'll talk about what they get and what you have, right? When you're showing them the home, at the end of showing them the home, which we'll talk about how you do that, you're going to say, we're going to play a game. Okay. Karen, Melissa, we're playing a game. Now, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, tell me, you have to play separately. No cheating. No cheating. Don't even talk to each other. Step aside. Separate. What do you give this home? 1 to 10. And you make them each answer you. Okay. I have done this with investors, all men, foreign languages. I've done it to everybody. And if they won't play, we won't leave until they play. I don't care. We're playing the game. And I have my sheets and I make them tell me, okay, so Melissa, what do you give it?
5.
Okay, great. So why do you give it a 5? What's great about it?
I like that it's open, but I don't like the yard.
Okay, the yard. Okay, what else? What gives it what do you feel about the inside, the kitchen? I'm gonna try to get a couple things, but I am writing down her exact words. Open yard. What is it about the yard that you wish was different?
It was bigger.
You wish you had a bigger yard. Okay, how do you feel about the bedrooms? I'm gonna ask her a couple things. Okay, Karen, what about you?
Oh, I give it a 4.
4. Okay, so what are some of the things you like about it?
I don't like that it's open. I want a closed kitchen as an individual room, nothing, because I don't like to hear, when I'm washing dishes, I don't want my people in my living room to have to talk over my dishwashing and all that kind of good stuff. I like, I just like that kind of stuff. And the yard, I don't care. I don't even go outside.
So no, shame on me, because if I didn't know that already and I would have taken to an open kitchen, what the heck? That kitchen is like kitchen, living room, and master bedroom. If I didn't know those top things in outside space, those are huge. I should have known that already. So I totally screwed up my discovery. If I didn't know that about you, you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, okay. And then we go to the next home. We show the home, and then I ask the same question. Now, no matter what you say, I take one of them away from you because it's a process of elimination. You always only have one in your hand. Do that on purpose. So by the time we're in the last home, it's always between one other home and the last home we're in. So I always know one home's going to win. We're always between 2. So we never get, if only it had the living room from the first house and the yard from the second house. No, those are off the table. We're not even discussing them. They're no longer options. I have taken those pages away from you. I do that on purpose. I take them away, say, great, those are gone. We're not even talking them. We're not even discussing them. They're gone. You have to physically take them from them. Okay? It works.
That's why you save the best for last.
That's why I save the best for last. Exactly. And we have that alternate choice close, and then we'll go through closing techniques. It always works like a charm. Now, sometimes we have to sit there and go through tons of closing techniques to help them. Closing techniques just help clarify their confusion, to help them decide really. And that's why I've written down their exact words, because I use, and I pretend I don't know. And I ask them the questions. What was it again you said about, I know exactly what they said. I freaking wrote down the exact words, but I do that on purpose because I use it to help them redecide what I already knew, because I already know what they want, but they don't know because they're caught up in the confusion and the emotion of the moment, right? That's what happens. And what we want to make sure is that if their emotion, what is the only thing that counters emotion? Logic.
Reality.
Logic and emotion are the only two things that counter each other. So if you go with emotion and emotion, you're going to have buyer's remorse. You're going to have a cancellation. And if they're too logical and you stay with logic, they're never going to go to a contract, because they're going to be just caught up in, what do they call it? When they think too much and they get stuck in the, what do I call it? I can't think of the name of it, but you just get caught up in the overthinking of things, and they're like, I got to think about it. You don't ever want that. So you have to know how to work the two of them, but you can't ever have emotion without logic and logic without emotion, because you're going to get buyer's remorse. And you've got to talk about buyer's remorse because it's a real thing. So you're going to say,
Here's the thing though, even when you find the perfect spot, as a buyer of 100,000 homes, it feels like you're still going to have buyer's remorse. It doesn't matter how good anybody is.
And that's why you're going to talk about it. And you're going to say, Melissa, Karen, I'm so excited. I hope we get this home. We're going to put that offer in, but I want to let you know something. You're going to sit home tonight. You're going to have that cup of coffee. You're going to be so excited, maybe a glass of wine, celebrate it. The next morning, you're going to be sitting having coffee. You're going to be talking about it. You might be nervous. You might go, oh my gosh, what do we do? And that is called buyer's remorse. And if you don't, I'm going to be worried about you, because that is completely normal. So if you're not having it, please call me, because you should be having it. I mean, if I buy a pair of Jimmy Choos, I'm having it. And this is a house, right? So you've got to put that in their mind that it's normal and they should be having it. That is hugely important, because if you don't, they're going to have it. We know that. So you've got to prepare them for it ahead and let them know it's completely normal, and it's not normal if they don't have it.
Exactly.
All right, so guys, we are at 3:35. Any thoughts, any questions? How are we feeling?
Gonna go study.
Oh, I lost Karen. Oh, there she is. So I did tape this, but unfortunately I taped it a little bit into it because I just saw Michael's little thing saying, did you record? And I was like,
There we go.
so it is recorded, but not from the very beginning. But I think we've covered a lot today, and I'm excited. So make sure you go sign up with Car Karen.
I will.
Melissa, make sure you get everything rolling with your MLS. Next week, we're doing dashboard training. So we're going to go over, okay, now you have a customer, right? How do we get them set up? You've done all your great discovery. You know exactly what you're looking for. So now how do we get it to them, right? What do we prepare that we can take away from them, right? When we've taken them the 1 through 10. So you need to have that prepared. So we're going to go over that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the really cool ways we can do this from our website. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, guys, we'll have a fabulous week. And I'm so excited that we were able to have our first Top 10 training.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.